Marvel fans have been waiting eagerly for Thunderbolts, and it's finally here, but this isn't your typical superhero movie. While the early buzz hinted at a Suicide Squad-esque team-up of anti-heroes, Thunderbolts delivers much more than the simple, chaotic fun we expected. The film tackles weighty themes of mental health, purpose, and personal growth, diving into a deeper and darker side of its characters. For once, depression isn't a one-dimensional trope. It's explored with sincerity and nuance. Sure, it's also filled with ridiculousness, but that's part of the fun. However, Thunderbolts does falter a little towards the end. While it starts with real emotional depth, the film's climax leaves us questioning its overall message. With a final showdown that could have been more meaningful, the ending is far from what we might have hoped for, especially given the emotional journey we've taken so far. Let's break it down. Thunderbolts ending. What happens to Bob in the Void? By now, if you're reading this, you've probably met Bob, the character who becomes the troubled Sentry. Bob's struggle with depression is not just a subplot, but a central theme of the movie. Bob's emotional journey is complicated by the super soldier serum experiments, which amplify his darkest impulses and fears. It's an exploration of how personal trauma can manifest into something uncontrollable, and in Bob's case, it turns into a literal monster. For much of the movie, Bob is in the process of becoming the Sentry, a hero who is supposed to protect, but whose powers come with tragic consequences. After a failed attempt to kill Valentina, Mel, Valentina's assistant, uses a kill switch to subdue Bob, but instead of eliminating him, the switch inadvertently traps Bob in a psychological prison. This is where Thunderbolts delves into darker territory, as the film presents the internal struggle between Bob and his alter ego, the Void, a manifestation of his depression, guilt, and anger. In a moment that truly defines the movie, Bob's alter ego, the Void, takes control. The Void is willing to help people, but in a twisted way. His version of helping is to erase people from existence, trapping them in their own minds, unable to escape. The team must now deal with not just a powerful villain, but a deeply troubled man who is at war with his own psyche. It's a heartbreaking metaphor for how depression can consume a person, making them feel as though the world would be better off without them. Yelena, who shares a connection with Bob, steps forward as the first to face the Void head-on. Her willingness to sacrifice herself for the greater good is a beautiful moment of selflessness. In an act that mirrors the bond of a found family, Yelena enters the Void's path, willing to become an inky shadow in hopes of freeing Bob from his mind prison. This leads to a climactic sequence where the Thunderbolts, in a shocking act of unity, embrace and fight to free themselves from their mental traps. It's a genuinely touching moment that speaks to the power of friendship, trust, and emotional resilience. But then, the movie takes a strange turn that may leave audiences scratching their heads. The final twist. The Thunderbolts take the wrong path. Once the team is freed from the Void's grip, they shift gears dramatically. Instead of continuing their mission of redemption, they decide to confront Valentina. The idea is to hold her accountable for her actions and her manipulation of the team. But when they march into a press conference, thinking they're there to expose her, Valentina deftly turns the tables on them. In a twist that feels more like a plot contrivance than a satisfying narrative turn, Valentina declares the Thunderbolts the new Avengers. The crowd erupts in cheers, and the team, clearly unaware of what's happening, stands stunned. Valentina, ever the puppet master, smirks as if she's pulled off the perfect con. It's a bold move, but one that feels frustratingly unearned. The final moment, in which Yelena whispers, "We own you now?" into Valentina's ear, should feel triumphant. However, it rings hollow. Valentina is a master manipulator, a woman who thrives on chaos and deceit. Her entire persona is built around skirting consequences, so this line seems less like a victory and more like a hollow gesture. The film's carefully crafted exploration of personal growth and emotional healing is undercut by this forced, almost nonsensical plot twist. This ending cheapens what could have been a triumphant conclusion, especially considering the emotional and philosophical stakes that were set up throughout the film. Instead of showing the Thunderbolts as heroes who have found their own path, one that defies Valentina's control, they end up as pawns in a game they don't fully understand. Post-credit scenes. Hints at the future, but is it enough? As with all MCU films, Thunderbolts offers two post-credit scenes. The first is lighthearted and comedic, if yet